now. So welcome everybody to this webinar of the Boosting Bioeconomy Knowledge in Schools online course. I'm Boy Putza, I'm the course coordinator, and I'm very happy to welcome our presenters here, Dr. Kiki Liadaki, Ivan Kunats, and Marta Azevedo. They are all Bloom expert teachers who have been working on the Bloom Schoolbox for a little bit more than a year, and they are pioneers in implementing bioeconomy in the classroom. And they're here today to share their experiences with all the participants of this course. Okay, so to introduce the Bloom Schoolbox, I'm going to share a little bit of information. The Schoolbox is a collection of bioeconomy learning scenarios. There are 5 of them, to be exact. And they were created as a driver for integrating bioeconomy in classes. And 20 expert teachers from Austria, Belgium, Croatia, Greece, Italy, Israel, Portugal, Poland, Portugal, Spain, and Sweden worked together for over a year to develop the Bloom Schoolbox. Then they returned to their classes to test these learning scenarios. And the Bloom Schoolbox covers a wide range of topics, from plastic pollution through waste management to the thermal properties of bio-based building materials. Now you all must know this because we already in detail studied the Bloom Schoolbox during the course. So now the Bloom expert teachers will share some experiences on how they implemented these learning scenarios, to be exact. And if you have any questions, then they are here to answer that. So while our presenters are speaking, I would like to encourage every participant to think of some questions for our presenters. And if you could think of anything that you're interested in, then please write it in the chat. The chat box is at the right bottom corner of this whole window. So you write it there and we will collect all of the questions during the session, and at the end we will have about 10 minutes for the Bloom expert teachers to answer all of your questions. Okay, so without further ado, let me present the Bloom expert teachers, and now please start the presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing my my webcam now, so see you soon. Kiki,
okay,
or
can you hear me now? Boy, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you. You can start speaking.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. And sorry, this is my first webinar, so I think I'm a little bit stressed about it. So my name is Dr. Kiki Liadaki, and I will briefly discuss about the learning scenario that our team prepared. The title, as you may know already, is Bloom Your School with Your Biofuel and Soap Lab. So before continuing, I would like to introduce my colleagues. 2 science teachers from Greece, Dr. Efi Papageorgiou and Ms. Irini Siotou. And we are 2 science teachers from Sweden, myself and Ms. Kalavat. And we are the ones that worked for this, the preparation of this learning scenario. So our scenario has two parts. One part is theoretical, of course, and the concept is the introduction to bioeconomy, and the second part is the practical. So for the theoretical part, as you might have seen already, you could start with a video of a teenage girl that speaks in a UN conference at Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And in this video, environmental issues are being raised. So you can start off with discussing with the students what are the environmental problems, what are the possible solutions, what can be done in general. If we had the opportunity, to show it today, we of course would include a Swedish girl that is all over the media. And it's Greta Thunberg, and it would serve the same purpose. But of course, the start of a video, it's a good opportunity to start a good discussion with the students. In continue, we try to introduce the word bioeconomy, which was a little bit difficult, and this was made more easy by bringing real life examples, not only as a solution of environmental issues, but also examples of bioeconomy. And so this way we could show real pictures, local examples, international examples, in general, whatever would serve the purpose of this, or implementing this scenario and understanding bioeconomy. However, even though we provide a variety of resources and videos and pictures, I mean, we think that the teachers are free to make their own approach and how they decide and what they think is appropriate for their students, because having in mind that every classroom has different background, different age, or even the language could be a barrier. So maybe you're not able to use all the resources that we provide. For example, in Sweden and in Greece, our team in general, we were lucky because the level of students and the English language was used, let's say, was quite advanced. So we use the material already as it is. In other countries, I guess this might be a challenge and could be used partly or differently. So what we did, for example, my students, when I tried this with 2 different classrooms, I tried, my students were younger, they were 11 years old, so it was more difficult for them to grasp the concept of bioeconomy. So what I did, I tried to use local examples for them to understand, some examples that they already know. And buses in Uppsala, the city where I live and work, is one such example where the company is using waste or vegetable oils in order to fuel these buses, and their aim is to be fossil free by 2020. So this was a very easy to relate example with the students, and once I started bringing one example after the other, it was more easy to understand the concept of bioeconomy. By the time we had our lesson, we had the Nobel Prizes, so another opportunity of bioeconomy, let's say, was appeared, another example amongst the many that you might find in our learning scenario. A dress made up from paper, and which is made by Swedish industries and the cooperation of Swedish paper industry, which, I mean, the students would not really believe that this paper is made of dress, but I mean, once they were told, they were excited. So it's soft, it's strong, it's recyclable, and at the same time is compostable. And a third example that I used with the students is bioplastic. I mean, this is a toy that one can find in the big department store here in our home in this town, and it's made from sugar cane. So even though initially the problem, the students were it was a little bit difficult for them to understand the concept of bioeconomy, gradually in all the different classrooms where we tried it, they understood, they related to the environment, so it was very easy for them to understand it. So the practical part has 3 experiments. The first experiment is making biodiesel using vegetable cooking oil. The second experiment is testing the biodiesel, and the third one producing liquid soap from glycerine. So some of the challenges that we had with the implementation, the first, let's say, and the biggest challenge we had as teacher before even, let's say, preparing the learning scenario is how can one teach something that one cannot understand. So this could be something that applies to someone that has no idea about bioeconomy before. But I guess, I mean, the participants of this course have already at least an idea about this bioeconomy, so it will be much more easy for them. However, if that is the case, you still have questions, because you should, what one thing is to do is to research very well, participate in more discussions, and also follow websites or social media. There are plenty now that you can follow, and it really provides a good source of information and answers a lot of questions. What I mentioned before, that sometimes it might have been difficult for the students to understand the word bioeconomy and its real meaning, but by providing all these real life examples, it was very easy for them to relate. me trying this learning scenario on younger students, where let's say their learning is not as advanced as the other classrooms which we try. What one can do is try online games related to bioeconomy, which were provided by Bioways. You can find this website where they have a link with games related to bioeconomy, and it's quite a fun way, to be involved and learn. So what this meant for the student, actually they found that it was really meaningful, inspiring, engaging. Some of them actually had a different idea about science after they completed their project. Of course, there was a lot of brainstorming and a lot of fun preparing the biodiesel, trying all these different experiments, and being informed about current problems and about alternatives. I personally, I want to add what it meant to me. It was a really pleasure to get to know something as new as this, and to expand my knowledge and be involved to this project. And it was really fun for me as well. So that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kiki. This was very inspiring indeed. And I really like that you mentioned that, so you questioned really, how can you teach something that you yourself have some trouble understanding at first? And I think that's a very good point. And can I ask you, how did you communicate this to your students? So did you tell them this at all, or did you talk about this openly, or what happened?
What do you mean specific?
You said in the previous slide, I think here, the first point,
Yeah.
how can one teach something that one cannot understand? And I found this really inspiring, because I think a teacher doesn't necessarily have to know everything, So I was wondering if you told this to your students, and if you did, then how did they react? So, yeah.
I was a little bit insecure at first in order to go into the classroom not being unprepared. So I tried to be as prepared as possible to have an idea. So I was able to, let's say, answer the questions. However, I know that, for example, my colleagues in Greece, they kind of discovered the meaning together, but they were older students in comparison to mine. So it also depends on what age your students are. So you can have different approaches in this.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Thank you very much. So now I will give the word to our next presenter. Ivan, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. I'll turn off my microphone.
Thank you. So, firstly, to introduce myself, my name is Ivan, and I'm part of the team 4, which was working on learning scenario number 4 of the Bloom Schoolbox. We were working on a learning scenario which is called "How Poop Will Change the World." So, what's it all about? Well, I live in Croatia, and I live in the east part of the Croatia, which is called Slavonia. That is the purple part, I think. I'm colorblind, so don't ask me about the colors. So what's so important about Slavonia? Slavonia is really big. We have almost 12,000 kilometers square. And in the history, there was Pannonian Sea there. And we have 3 major rivers, Sava, Drava, and Danube. And there is a saying here that Slavonia can feed all the world. Why am I saying all of this? Well, we have a lot of fields, and in all those fields we plant varieties of plants. We plant corn, wheat, soy, and everything else you can think of. And when we harvest all that, we are left with mostly residue. We are mostly plant pills. But we don't get that only from harvesting. We get that from mowing our back lawn and side of the road and everything else. And what do we do with it? I mean, we can make pellets from it, we can dry it, we can press it, and we can use this to heat our houses, or we can feed it to the animals. And basically that's bioeconomy, right? I mean, That's what I was told, using natural resources to do something with them. But guess I was wrong. I found one farm here near me. This is the farm from the picture, and they went a step further. I mean, all the animals need to eat. After the animals eat, they produce feces, and they started collecting those feces, and they started to put it all in large metal containers. Why did they do that, one may ask? Well, in time, those feces produce methane, and methane is a natural gas, and they use it to power their machines, to harvest another field, and to produce more fat for the animals. They produce more waste, they produce more electricity, and we have a perfect circular economy. And that's the bioeconomy in general. We have a perfect circular economy. On that example, we made something good for the students. That's what our learning scenario is all about. Firstly, we produce bioeconomy as a term, that we use something from nature to produce something valuable for our society. But we need to reuse and reuse and reuse that as much as we can. We introduce bioeconomies in our learning scenario as a first step, using some of the local examples, like this farm I used. By the way, you have these farms almost everywhere through Europe. I did a little digging, and almost all countries in European Union have one of these farms. So you can find it in your backyard. After this theoretical part about bioeconomy, we produce and we do experimental part. We take renewable energy sources, bioenergy sources, and fossil sources, and we make pros and cons on what do we get, what are we left on, and our students can decide for themselves if bioeconomy is good, it's too expensive, is solar power better, and everything else. One may ask also, what are the challenges for the implementation of this? Well, to be honest, I didn't have any challenges with it. Our learning scenarios is made for pupils from age 8 to age 15, and most common term that you can use and that we used in our learning scenarios is the energy. And energy is easy to explain to students, no matter what their age are, or their knowledge about physics, chemistry, and everything else. I think the most challenging thing for the implementation would be to motivate your students to participate in this workshop, but I think the name of the workshop will change that. When I told my students the name of our workshop, How Poop Will Change the World, they were all battled with it. They couldn't believe it, and they were like listening without stop and everything else. So what do our students get from it? Our students get the future from it. We all make waste. I mean, we all use toilets. We all produce something in our kitchen. We all peel potatoes, eat banana, and everything else. But my question is, why don't we use collectors for bigger cities? Why don't we get our local sewer in one big collector and make one giant power plant and make biodiesel or biofuel, biogas, everything else? We could provide energy using waste back to the cities. We would have free electricity for their PCs, their mobile phones, and we could have free electricity for tram stations and everything else. I mean, that's the most important thing. Maybe we don't have the solution, but we have the idea how to fix some things. That's what our learning scenario is all about. So thank you for listening. That's it.
Thank you very much. This was also very interesting. And I would just like to ask a quick question. So could you tell us really quickly, how old are your students at the moment?
My students are at the moment are from age 10
Okay.
to age 15.
And did they like this learning scenario? Did you think that they you said that they were listening from the first moment?
Yeah, they were listening because the point is, how can poop or feces be anything that we can use to make electricity? That's something that
And
we battled
just
with.
one question: did you find anything really hard whilst you were implementing the learning scenario? Did you have any obstacles?
Well, not really. For our experimental part, only thing we used are a couple of lemons and nails and one LED light to produce electricity from a lemon. So you don't need any scientific equipment or anything like that to explain them how to get electricity from bio.
Thank you very much, Ivan. So now I will give the word to our third presenter, whose name is Marta. Marta, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah, hello? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Yes. Can you just come a bit closer to the microphone so we can make sure? Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Now we can perfectly hear. Yes, it's perfect. So I'm
Okay. Oh, hello everyone. So let's build together a new environmental future. First, and as I'm not alone, please meet my team. Wait. Okay, here it is. So with me is José. So we are a team from Portugal and Israel. With me is José. He also teaches biology and geology as me. He is a teacher trainer and the head of a science department of his school. In the Israel part, we have Stella. She teaches biology and chemistry at a secondary school and in high school, and also Veronica that teaches chemistry and STEM in the secondary and high school. Okay, just a quick reminder of our learning scenario. So it's composed of 3 parts, as you probably have known in the last module of the MOOC. We assign each part a title. So part number 1, what is bioeconomy? We had introduced the theme of bioeconomy with a short film. Then we gave them several materials or pictures. I'll talk about them later. And we asked the students to divide the materials into 2 groups, the non-bio-based products and bio-based products. Then there was some talks, a debate, and we want the students to know what bioeconomy is. Then part 2, what can we do with this? There were 2 different activities depending on our students' age. For younger students, we gave them some local foods and they had to find examples of usage for the given material so as to take the most of their potential. And the older ones, they have to develop a project, a scientific project, using local materials also, and they have to connect them and also with the curriculum. And part 3, okay, here it is. Yes, we can change the world. So we ask the students to be creative. We are now in part 3, in fact, and they have to plan a science exhibition or a science project depending on their age. Okay, so this was our learning scenarios. With this part, we wanted students to gain and understand the concept of bioeconomy. They should also be able to distinguish bio-based products from traditional ones. But all of these came with challenges. Okay. The first challenge was in part 1. So how could we begin this? Because maybe students haven't already know what bioeconomy is. It's it's a new item for them. So we plan to show an introductory movie, but we thought it was not enough. So before, we read some news on climate change. We talked about storms, hurricanes. We talked about the fact that the seasons are no longer different, and presented some data on the materials that our planet has to give us and the speed at which we spend them. For that, we used storytelling. I don't know if you know the story of the golden egg hen. So we used this so that they could understand and be curious about this new item. And we let the students think about this information. Then we showed the movie, okay? So we acknowledge their curiousness with all the news and with the movie. So the first step was accomplished. Now it's time for hands-on activities. So we have what we call a bloom box, but when we went looking for bio-based materials to put in our bloom box, we did not find it. So the solution we found, risky, was to display pictures of bio-based products and traditional products, okay? So we found many examples of products that already exist in the market, in the internet, because we couldn't find it in Portugal. Many of brands that they know well, okay? So it was very easy to find these in the internet, as you can see with this picture. We have also found information on which raw material was used to do these materials you can see in the picture. So since we anticipated confusion about the concepts of recycling, reuse, and bioeconomy, we decided to add real materials that had resulted from this same process. As you can see in this picture, we added plastic bags, napkins, those things we put in, on our cup of tea or coffee so we cannot burn ourselves, okay? So this is the solution we found out because we don't have too many biomaterials in our market, okay? They really enjoyed these activities. So here are some pictures of students working with their bloom box materials, okay? Especially because they went wrong in almost all the images. It almost looked like a competition of those who fail more, okay? It was very, very, very funny. And they were really surprised when we showed the solution, we showed them the solution with some of the materials to have origin in cotton, in corn, sugarcane, yeah, okay. Then we have some debates and we talked about linear economics, recycling and bioeconomy. So we wanted to know if they really understood what bioeconomy is, because it's not only recycling, it's giving another use to the materials or the most potential, take the most potential of the materials we have. We talked about circular economy, and so the concept of bioeconomy, we think, was going on. To further increase interest in this area, we decided to show at the end 2 toothbrushes of the same brand. Okay, I confess, it was the only material I found out in Portugal, a bio-based and a traditional one, and they could not tell which is which. So bio-based materials and traditional materials, they don't have to be different, okay? Sometimes there's a misconception of what is not traditional. If it's recycled, it's not too good. If it's biomaterial, it's not too good. And with these toothbrushes, they could not tell which is which. So, okay, biomaterial is a good material also. Then it's part 2, we have to encourage their creativity. So how could we encourage their creativity? with the right driving question. So we thought giving them some fruits, and we told them, what can we do with this fruit besides eating it? Okay? Each group has to find examples of uses for as much of the mass as the products, so as to make the most of their potential with minimum waste. So we went to the local market and we gave each group some food. Some had kiwi, another one's nuts, olives, cactus. Well, it depends on what you have in your city. The students began to observe the fruits and identifying the wastes. Then they investigated the composition of the waste to give it another use. So now they are in the phase of investigating in laboratory. Kiwi peel for insulation, for instance, I have one group working with this. Another one is trying to obtain paint from the lamp of the olive. Other ones glue from cactus. So each group with each fruit is planning a scientific project, and it's really being very interesting. One of the schools, the school from my partner José, is located in a leather market zone, and the students visited one of the manufacturers. So they have found a solution for the waste in industry. Well, they think they found a solution. Grow algae to remove carbon dioxide and other pollutants from the environment, and use algae for biomass. So Alcanena, the other group, is working with this. My students are working with the fruits I've told you before. So we think the concepts were understood. Part 3 is on the way. They are now planning a science exhibition so that everyone can learn about bioeconomy in our school. There was some changes from the beginning. We prepared these learning scenarios to what we are doing now, okay? So one of the changes I told you already was we don't have a real material so they can see the difference, that there is no difference between traditional and bio-based, but the pictures worked okay. It was really, really, really nice, because some of the brands they know are made of bio-based products, for instance, Lego, or some bottles of Coca-Cola. So things they know are changing. Working in groups is okay. The division between older and younger students, I think you can give anything to the students because they have really good imagination. They are really creative, and we are building really nice things from our learning scenario. So thank you very much for listening to me. And if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Marta, for sharing all of your experiences. It was a very nice presentation. And now I think if none of our presenters have to add anything, then it's time for questions. So here we go. So I think there was a question to Ivan. Ivan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
How did you evaluate? Hi. How did you evaluate and assess your students? That was the question in the chat. So could you answer that for us?
Sure. Before the workshop and presentation, they got the small questionnaire about their knowledge about bioeconomy and bioproducts and everything regarding that. And a few days after our workshop, they got the same questionnaire. And their knowledge about bio-based product went up. They managed to see it around them.
That's really good, right? So that you can actually measure the knowledge of your students before and after
Yeah, but
the lecture.
not
So that,
just after that, because that's not real knowledge. Measure it after 2 or 3 days. That's the real knowledge.
oh yeah. Yes, that's very good. Okay, we have another question, I think, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer that, but surely we can
Sure.
try. So the question was, is biofuel, is it true that the car, if you put biofuel in a car, loses performance while driving? I'm not sure if any of you actually, it's an open
Well,
question to all our
I do know the answer, unfortunately. Well,
Great.
it depends on the biofuel and from what biofuel is made of. Plus, all our cars are made for the fossil fuel diesel, not biofuel diesel. Biofuel diesel is a little greasier than a fossil fuel diesel. That's why the car loses performance. But if we manage to make engine that is for bio-based diesel, he will work better than the fossil fuel engine.
Okay, wow, thank you very much. So actually we got a technical answer as well. Okay, and now I have a question for Kiki.
Yes.
Because this was, I think, an open question to all of you, so I'm gonna phrase it to you. So the question was, how can we involve students without any special scientific equipment? Do you have any advice to our participants?
I had to do this for my younger students. I know my colleagues did the whole, let's say, all the practical part. I practically involved them by using the online games, which was very fun for them. And we saw a lot of videos, we had discussions. So I focused more on the theoretical and fun part of the project, and I, let's say, skipped the practical part at the time. Okay. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we also have a question for Marta, or at least a question while Marta was presenting, which was how to motivate your students. So Marta, do you have any special advice for teachers?
Often I use storytelling. I try to adapt some stories that they already know from their infants and try to captivate their attention and curiousness with storytelling. Then I use a lot of inquiry-based learning. I ask them lots of questions with no concrete answer, so they can think about it. When I told them that we don't have different seasons, we don't know when spring begins or winter begins, they start to think, yeah, I remember the time we used to use lighter clothes, and now we don't know. For instance, in Portugal, in the morning it's freezing, and at lunchtime it's so cold, just in one day. So I'll try to make them think about some things they never thought about it, and it works really okay with them. And then try to catch their creativity. As when I gave them, for instance, a nut, and they never thought what to do with the shell. So maybe we could do something, or even with the kiwi, what to do with the peel, okay? And often it works okay for me and for my students.
Okay, that's very good advice, thank you. It's always good to have some sort of a real-life connection to what you teach, so that you catch your students' attention. There's also a question here for Marta, which is, what can we do if in our country we can't find bio-based products?
Well,
so do you have any advice?
The same that I did, and it was a bit risky, but worked really okay. So give them pictures. Find in the internet some pictures of bio-based products, and sometimes products that they know. Okay, I talked about the bottle of Coca-Cola, and we don't have bio-based bottles in our country, but I found out that there are, and Lego also is working with bio-based, and it was really fun because from all the pictures, I think I had about 30 pictures of bio-based and traditional based products, and almost all of the students put the pictures with traditional products. And then when we told them what were traditional and bio-based products, and there were more bio-based products in those pictures than traditional, they just went, whoa, it was the whoa face, no. And then when we told them from what was their raw material, cotton and sugarcane, and they were really surprised. And then with these pictures, we can also explain them better the difference between recycling, between reuse, that is also important, okay, I'm not telling it's not important, from the bio-based, so they could really learn. The toothbrushes, and I also have how do we call, we drink with I forgot. Oh, never mind.
Cups?
Straws. Yeah. So I found out in Portugal, so the toothbrush, traditional one and the bio-based one, and the straws made of sugar. And well, the straws were very easy to see that were bio-based because they smelled as sugar. But the toothbrushes were really almost exactly the same. So we would like to pass the message that there is really no difference between some bio-based products and traditional ones. So if you can use pictures, it will really work okay. For me, it worked, so why not?
Okay. Bori,
okay.
Could I add something to this? Of course, I mean, I also use pictures and real-life examples. One more additional thing the teachers can use is articles that they can find on the news. For example, McDonald's is, I've found articles about McDonald's using their cooking oil for their trucks, for example, so the students can relate more. And since it's in the market, I mean, you can find bioplastic in big department stores. I'm sure you can find online to buy those bio-based products. The only hesitance I would have is that they are a little bit more expensive in comparison to the other materials. For example, the toy that I showed, I think it was about 30 to 40 euros, just one. Yeah, so it's quite, the difference is, that would be, let's say, one option: order some samples from the market or show articles. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So this actually relates to the question that we have again in the chat, which is, do you think that creating more bio-based products will really contribute to the world? This already requires a lot of investment and time. So Ivan, would you like to start answering, and then we can
sure.
go further?
You are right about that, but we are not alone on this planet. We are keeping this planet only. We are saving it for our children. So it's not about us. It's about saving our planet for the future. It's not about how much we will spend. It's how much we will leave for our children to enjoy in that. That's what I'm thinking about that question.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Marta, do you have anything to add to that, maybe?
Well, about, can you repeat your question? Sorry.
Yeah, it was about bio-based products. So the question was, does it really add to the world to develop more bio-based products? Because it's a lot of time and investment in money-wise, and also Kiki mentioned that it was really expensive.
I was lucky because the two toothbrushes were exactly the same price. The students ask me the same because there is always a misconception about are really good products, bio-based products. Traditional ones shouldn't be better than the other ones. So I could show them that both are good, and bio-based are really good products. Yes, we need to invest, and we need time, we need money, and usually the new things are expensive, more expensive than the other ones. But we could pass the message that there is so many wastes that can have another usage, and try to escape the money problem. That's for the economics and so on. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. We also have a sort of suggestion or question to Ivan, which is your country can use wave energy, so near the sea. So we were wondering if Croatia, do you know anything about that? Does Croatia use
we are
wave
not
energy
using
already?
it already because there is a lot of fluctuation in the wave energy. We have the peaks when Bura, the strong wind in Croatia, is hitting. He's hitting almost 300 kilometers an hour in that speed. So that's a lot of energy, and our electricity, our plants can get that much power. So that's why we don't use it yet, but we will have technology maybe in the future to use it.
Yes, I hope so. Okay, I also have a question to, again, sorry, Marta, that I'm asking so many things, but you mentioned that you showed your students bio-based products, and in the beginning they didn't realize, so they actually picked the wrong ones most of the time. And I was wondering, did you do the activity again to see if they learned more, or do you think that they recognize bio-based products?
No, I
better
didn't
now?
repeat it. It was really funny because everything was wrong in their minds, and then the answers were really very whoa, no way. No, I didn't repeat the activity, but I'm testing them as they are planning their own activity, their own project. I can see if they really learned the activity well. And the idea is that bio-based products and traditional products are not so different as we think. So it will be very different to distinguish, very difficult to distinguish bio-based and traditional. So I told them that even me, when I looked for those pictures, sometimes I had to really check if the pictures were from bio-based products, because visually there is no difference. Maybe if we touch them, maybe we can find some differences. So repeating the activity would be the same, because I don't know if there is any difference, but that's a good idea. Maybe I'll check for more pictures and give them if they can know the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely tell us if you do. That would be good. Okay, I have one final question to all three of you. So it's about the implementation of your learning scenarios. So let's go one by one. And the question is, tell us one thing that worked really well and one thing that really didn't work well during your implementation, if there is any, obviously. So let's start with Kiki.
So one thing, I have the pleasure to live in Sweden and be a Swedish citizen, but I was born and raised in Greece. So one of my favorite things to do is trying to break down the word, and the word bioeconomy is Greek. So I try to, yes, it's bio means life, and economy means, it's a regular meaning of the word economy. So you can practically, as a Greek, understand the meaning. So I tried this with my students. Hopefully, if I gave them the meaning of the words, they would get it, they would understand it, but it really didn't go as planned. That was the most difficult thing. So I had to rewind and try over another approach. So let's say the best thing that, the best memory is when I was trying to relate and explain bioeconomy, one student, stood up and said, so practically bioeconomy is making something from plants or cut plants or so this was, let's say, the aha moment for me, because I realized that they got it and the understanding. So that's what I have to say. Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Okay, and did you have anything that that went really well for the first time that you didn't think it was going well, or yeah, did something just happen and straight away it just
one
went
of
really
the
well?
videos that I used, in addition to the ones that we had in our learning scenario, is the video from Greenpeace about there's a orangutan in my room, where it shows a monkey that doesn't have a home because the forest is being destroyed. That went really well because the students were so sad about the monkey, the video, and we went really a lot about the environmental issues and what we're doing wrong and what we should fix. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the same question to Ivan. Did you could you share something with us? Something really good and
Something that went
that you had to
perfectly
try
is
again?
the wow moment when I managed to explain how I believe that poop will change the future in the world, and when my students started believing that also. That was one of the best moments I got during that workshop. And one thing that didn't go well is motivating my students to come to the workshop, because they don't want to learn new stuff.
Oh. Okay. I hope this changed a little
Yeah,
bit when you taught them about poop and how it will change the world. Okay. Okay, thank you. And Marta, something that worked really well,
Okay,
something that didn't?
the collaborative work worked really, really, really okay. Okay, yeah, it was great. Seeing them working together, thinking about solutions, thinking about everything, trying to see which is which material. So this was really, really good. The movies also were great. The not too great to good part of our learning scenario was the division between younger and older students. I think we can skip that, because the young ones can do what the older students do also. I believe every student are creative. They know things, they can think about it, they have really good imagination. So this part, I think I could skip it. In the first learning scenario we designed, we also added a game, which I think it's not now in the learning scenario because it was not too good, because some things were missing, and there was two scientific concepts there. So I think this scenario will work okay with everyone, using everything you have in your local market, in your local space, and at the end, I'm expecting a good science fair exhibition, because they are now planning a science exhibition. I've already seen some works they are going to present to their colleagues. So this was our learning scenario. I hope you enjoy it.
Definitely. Okay, thank you very much to all of you. And I just want to answer one last question that we had in the chat, which was about the learning scenario. So it was about getting advice on what to do. And I can suggest that, well, first of all, you go through the whole MOOC and see if you find something inspirational. And also in Module 1, we collected a few sections where you can find resources for your learning scenario, so definitely visit that. And also next week we are going to have a Teach Meet where you can find further ideas if you come. So, and also join the Facebook group, because I'm sure that your course peers, so everybody here also in the webinar, will be able to help. So yes, thank you very much for our presenters for coming and sharing their experiences with us. I think it was very educational. And thank you all the participants as well for coming. So I hope I will see you all next week in the Teach Meet as well. Thank you. Goodbye.